flame where the sparks ignite. Dreams take flight in the amber light. A circle of minds, a fire of thought, building some from what we've got. Grab a log, throw it on. The night is young. The night is young. Welcome to the Inventive Fireside, where wisdom burns and hopes collide. Pull up a chair, let's fan the flame. Together we'll light up the game. The crackling wood, it tells a tale. Lessons learned and ships that sail. Experts speak and the sparks cascade. Fueling dreams that will never fade. Bring your spark, your ember bright. Let's stoke the blaze through the endless night. Inventive Fireside, where wisdom burns and hopes collide. Pull up a chair, let's fan the flame. Together we'll light up the game. Hey, hey. Mike. Round the flame where the sparks ignite. Dreams take flight in the amber light. A circle of minds, a fire of thought, building some from what we've got. Grab a log, throw it on. The night is young. The night is young. Welcome to the Inventive Fireside, where wisdom burns and hopes collide. Pull up a chair, let's fan the flame. Together we'll light up the game. The crackling wood, it tells a tale. Lessons learned and ships that sail. Experts speak and the sparks cascade. Fueling dreams that will never fade. Bring your spark, your ember bright. Let's stoke the blaze through the endless night. Inventive Fireside, where wisdom burns and hopes collide. Pull up a chair, let's fan the flame. Together we'll light up the game. Hey, hey. Mike.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to another Inventive Fireside. Looking forward to having another great episode in the webinar series, and for a good conversation and a good opportunity to learn a number of different things. Before we jump in too much to the fireside and the webinar and learn from the expertise of others, just as a quick reminder for those that want to check out any of our new and upcoming webinar series, you can always go to my LinkedIn profile, just click on the events tab, and that'll show some of the new ones that are up and coming. So definitely go and check those out. You can click register and otherwise get reminders for those that are to come. But with that said, today we're going over, I think, a good point or a good topic that a number of people face and otherwise run into, which is a lot of times you'll come up with a concept, you'll come up with an idea, you'll start to work on it or tinker on it a bit, but then to kind of take that that original concept that you may have come up with and actually build it into a business is a lot of times easier said than done. So I think it'll be a great opportunity to learn a bit of, what are some of those steps, concept, ways that you can consider taking something as a concept to an actual business. And so with that, what is a very short introduction, I'm going to turn it over to our guest, Jessica, maybe just to take just a minute or two to introduce herself, and then go ahead and dive into the topic at hand.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jessica Gould, owner of J. Gould Consulting. I have a presentation for you guys to discuss not only how to create a business, but some very key factors in that specifically that will benefit anyone, knowing how to grow it, how to sustain the concept, and one of the hardest things for any business owner at any point, which is, are you at a point where you need to sell, move on, or transition into something new? So thank you. Give me a moment to share my screen. Ooh. Okay. This is not in presenter mode, but can everybody see the screen?
Yep.
Wonderful. I apologize, I just have to get this into presenter mode. If not, I may just go slide by slide if that's okay. If there's no preference, I may
Yeah,
just go
and
slide
you
by
should be able to, if you just click on the little presenter tab just on the bottom of your screen next to the plus and minus for the scale, it should go into presenter mode.
Sorry, this is a technicality of being on a live podcast. And
See that little podium right next to the minus sign? If you click on that, it should go into presenter mode.
podium.
Down at the bottom right part of your screen where you see the little slider that has a plus and minus, very bottom right side, right side, right side.
Oh, yes.
And
Oh,
then right
this,
next to the minus sign has a little podium that goes into presenter mode.
there we go. Thank you. I apologize. There's some technicalities that come with business, and this is one of them. So for the sake of this slideshow, there's a couple things I'm going to be covering, but it's building successful collaborations for growth is a back end solid thing to make any business succeed. A bit of background is I am a legislative consultant. I had ideas, but building my networks, knowing my strengths and weaknesses, and knowing, okay, I have a concept, how the hell do I turn it into a business? Is where networking and building a strong foundation on the three things mentioned here, strong connective network, why it matters, building a robust network strategy, integration into network, into operations, scaling success through utilization or knowing when to sell. These are all parts of building a strong business concept. I run a legislative consulting agency that has been training for 7 years across the country. Even if you know the concept well, like how to make a great ice cream bar, know everything about your industry, knowing these elements are elements that will help you succeed in launching. There's an element I forgot to put on the slide, so I will tell you guys now. Openly, you have to know your immediate investment cost. What is it going to cost you to launch? So since it is not on here, I'm going to openly say that. Any business has to know their initial cost of investment to launch. Website building and things like that. Again, this is where the connectivity comes in. Utilizing places like LinkedIn. I utilize interns. I've utilized all sorts of things, but everything came down to the principles talked about here. And the definition of connectivity and linking. It's to link organizations that can support each other through information and operations in roles across sectors. So as business owners, you have to be your brand, whatever your brand is. But this does not always mean you know everything. So it's building a robust network and knowing when you need help. So these are brief slides, and I'm going to be talking in addition to what I'm stating here. Connected networks, what is this? And why is it important? So in the sense of building a business, a connected network is a network intentionally built to help you find the right people. Again, I had a wonderful concept, got approached, but I had never built a business. So I had to automatically start doing this. And it gets the company name out there, allows for connective growth, and can act as a catalyst for publications later, as people get to know you. So when you're building your business, these are all things you have to think about. There's some factoids here. I borrowed a presentation off of PowerPoint, but the important thing is that the role of the network is to help the potential growth, builds a strong network, and creates potential opportunities for a company. You can also meet people who have incredible minds, and create short contracts with them to build out pieces of the business and those contracts and move on to your next step. I did this a lot in my early years, especially when it came to building my website. The year I opened, the pandemic hit. So building my website became a mandatory task where I had to utilize this and have the vision in mind. Many people know about branding. Many people know about, again, concept and finance, but it's how to make these things grow, exist, and maintain themselves. That is one of the trickiest parts about not only building a business, but maintaining it. So again, I'm kind of going into each one of these slides as I'm talking, but the network itself acts as a way of growth in a field and helps you foster overall missions of aspect. For business owners, this is invaluable. You can meet all sorts of people. There are multiple networks out there that help small businesses grow and flourish. Some of the ones I've used, I'm not promoting any one over the other. I'm just giving some examples, are Alignable and LinkedIn. Alignable is for small business owners, and LinkedIn is a massive networking site for professionals and job seekers alike. So building a business, utilizing and harnessing the resources and right people in each industry as you grow is essential. A lot of my initial growth really did focus on everything from my logo, which you see behind me. I had to find a person who did logo design. I had the idea. I needed someone to go design it, build it, and give me the rights to it. Done. Again, for me, a lot of my initial growth and business structuring centered around websites. My website has been through 4 redesigns because of evolving business interest. And as owners, that's the other thing you need to pay attention to and know where the business is growing, especially if you carry something people want, which is what every business owner wants. You want that product, that concept, that idea that just captures the minds of millions. So you have to know intricate pieces of how to make that grow. And this is why the slides are focusing on the networking element, and I'm talking through the rest. Because to put all this together in one presentation would be honestly far too much. So again, this kind of explains, and I'm just going to tell you what all these are. Partnerships and finding the right talents is so important to any business, whether those partnerships are temporary or long going. Is up to every business structure. I will openly tell this crowd that if you were to go to my website today, it has a partner link. 3 of those partners, we have been partners since my company opening in 2019. And it is strictly based on the core company concept that my company represents. And they are further educational catalysts on the topic that my company focuses on, which is legislative advocacy and changing legislative actions in underserved populations. So creating these partnerships can go beyond a simple business partnership. Even if you know an expert ice cream maker who has this amazing recipe and you want that recipe in your ice cream shop, you can make an agreement with that ice cream maker and say, hey, your flavor is amazing. Can I have it on my menu in my ice cream shop? And you can make agreements on those types of things. And it's innovation and perspective is what will keep the momentum going. So as the business starts to make points, starts to gain attention, you have to, it's hard, but you have to pay attention to the world you're in. And innovate and adapt whenever necessary. And you can do this as you go. When I first started, I served a small company in the San Fernando Valley. I live in Southern California. And it grew to a national brand. So you can start small and then it will catch on and launch like a rocket ship. Especially, like I said, if it's your ice cream's delicious, the concept you have goes beyond you or goes into more complex things, but it's fostering the right people for what you're trying to do. Even one person can never do it alone. I always joke that I have an invisible team of 50 or 100 or however big it's grown. Because even if you're a sole proprietorship or a LLC or a small business partnership, it's leveraging each one of your skill sets and making constant connections to make the business just take off, and holding whatever core values you have at your center. So again, these are kind of general general strategic partnership things. It doesn't have to be high interest or high influence, but it does have to have some element that will capture attention. I work in a niche field. It's not, I don't get 50,000 clients a day, but the impact is just as impactful. In general, though, if you cannot capture the interest, and that's knowing your concept so well that you could sell it to a stranger. Walk down the street. I am going to tell this audience to do something, and it's going to sound really funny, but walk down this. If you're in a coffee shop somewhere out in the public and you're trying to sell something, you're talking with your friends, and or you're by yourself and someone's willing to talk to you, you can run your concept by them and say, hey, would this interest you? Or does that sound delicious? For me, I was getting people approaching me, so it was a little bit different. But knowing the interest level and knowing what you're doing in your field of expertise and learning it to a skill of desire will make you launch completely. And I have never used CR. This is an element that I forgot to take the slide out, so my apologies. This is what I wanted to get into. Regardless, a business, whether you're doing something virtual, selling a food product, selling basketball shorts, building trust is so essential. And that could mean starting at a lower profitability and building it up later, which is actually what I did. I needed my field to trust me. I understood what I needed to do, but there was a lack of trust. So people had to absolutely believe in the concept. My company concept, values, and entities really does hinge on trust of the people served. Complete strangers that I meet for 30, 45 minutes. I maybe train on a topic and I'm gone. They can contact me. I'm always available, but I am gone. So the trust they have is in the concept that I provide. So building trust, listening is immensely important. And then building that into a value that you can consistently have. In my industry, the value is the clients can be freaking out about whatever's going on. And I very calmly, I'm like, okay, guys, it's okay. We're going to walk through this together. Here's a step-by-step model. Follow these steps. How far do you want to go? That's an example of how I've built a trust. There are consistent models that I utilize and give to the client. At the end of the day, the model is just a framework in my world. So once they take the framework, it uniquely becomes theirs. And it's no longer my company's. It's whoever the client is. It's a beautiful design that allows people to do what they need to do. But it's all built on this trust and built on proving that the recipe, that the product is a successful product. Which is why I earlier mentioned that you may start at a lower profitability line and build your way up. Or who knows, it might launch if it's, I work in more abstract field of concepts, ideas, and structural change. So it's longer, but if it's a shoe that people just love buying, you just need to get the product down, test it out, make sure it works, but you still have to make it so people trust it. So I can't speak to the profitability of every concept, but I can tell you that these trust and core values is what will carry your company to a future beyond anything you could ever dream. I'm going on 7 years, and some of the opportunities that have been presented to me, I could never imagine they'd be presented when I got approached and decided to open my doors. But it's having these trusts, having these proven ideals in my world or a product, a good tasting recipe is what will make you successful. Sorry. Collaboration. As I've been saying throughout this podcast, no one does this alone. So initial and intentional collaboration is sometimes essential because everybody has their strengths. Everybody has their weaknesses. No one can do everything by themselves. So knowing, like I said, you're an ice cream shop. You know the business side, you understand the financials, you're good at that. Your friend or a colleague or someone you know has a great recipe. They've tried it out on a bunch of people. It's delicious. That's an internal and intentional collaboration. For one person has one skill, another person has another, they're put together, it makes magic. So internal, intentional collaborations are essential to any business success. And in that realm, you want to intentionally make sure they align when you collaborate.
Hey, Jessica, and just as a quick heads up, we are getting towards the end of the committed time for people to attend the webinar. So maybe if you want to kind of give some parting thoughts or wrap things up so we can have a few times to chat.
That's not a problem.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you for that notation. The last thing I will let you guys know about business building is that you want to make sure these collaborations are intentional and each person has a designed goal and you align in core values. Everything else, growth and everything can be worked out as you go along, but these are your cores for success. Thank you so much. I am going to stop sharing my screen considering the time limit, but thank you so much for having me.
No, absolutely, and definitely appreciate you sharing a lot of great information and a lot of things that were hit on that I think provide some very good guidance for people as they're taking a concept and building a business around it. So now as we do or kind of open it up, and I'll probably do just maybe hit on just a question or two. Always sensitive to the people that are in attendance's time, so we don't intrude on that too much. But definitely, question or two I think that generally comes up is, there's a number of things that kind of come up or come to mind. You can search the internet. You can or kind of ask friends and go over that, and yet it becomes overwhelming in the sense that, hey, I've got a concept and I want to take it to market, or I want to build a business around it. So do I go and build a brand, or do I go and ask people, or do I go and do a fundraiser, or do I build a prototype, or X, Y, and Z? You can go down a number of things, kind of based on what you went over in your experience, kind of where for those people that are maybe feeling overwhelmed or otherwise not quite knowing where to start, what's any advice on kind of where they might begin to tackle things.
I know this may sound, it sounds like a simple question to ask yourself, but many people don't. Um, what's, if you took away all technicalities of business, what's the core concept you are trying to get out there? What is it? For me, I made an observation and I had to turn that into a business. But what is that concept? If you know what that concept is, I would recommend like making sandwiches, how to open a sandwich shop. First of all, look into simply that. The core, how to do blank. I want to sell shoes. How do I open a store? There are, for every concept idea out there, there's a general guideline through Better Business Bureau and the IRS that gives you a general guideline of what each entity would need to do, period, just to be in existence. Being a consultancy, I had to go straight to IRS. And that gave me we don't care what you're doing, you need to do these things first. And I had no choice. So it's what are you doing? With your permission, I can send you out a general list after this to give out to your audience of some places and outline like each agency and what they generally cover. But that's kind of the question that people have to ask themselves is what am I trying to do? Where is it in the larger scheme of business?
Yeah, no, I think that that's a good question and a kind of a good thought on kind of where you might start. So probably with that, we'll wrap towards the end just so that we can keep people on track with, I'm sure, busy schedules. But I always like to wrap up with the same given question. So we're going to jump to that now. So the first question I like to ask, or I guess the only question, not the first question, the question I like to ask is a pretty simple one, but one where I always enjoy hearing or hearing from people on, which is what is one of your favorite books or podcasts?
One of my favorite books, I'm going to choose books because I don't do podcasts very often. I love podcasts, I just don't have time. is Crime and Punishment. And I am a big 17th century author like fan. So that is one of my favorite books.
Awesome. Well, I definitely will have to put that on the queue of things to read and to go or in my case, I or listen to on the audio podcast or on Audible is where I end up I guess reading in quotes most of my books. But now as we do wrap up, people want to reach out to you. They want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above. What's the best way to reach out, contact you, find out more?
That would be my email, jdg@jgouldconsultation.com.
Awesome. Well, I definitely encourage people to reach out, support a great business, expand their network, and if nothing else, make a new best friend. So definitely appreciate you coming on, sharing some great information, great insight. Appreciate the audience, those are in attendance. And as always, extend the invitation for any of those that anybody in the audience that's interested in being a guest on the podcast or the webinar series that has something to share. You're always welcome to go to inventiveunicorn.com and apply to be on the podcast or the webinar. And as a quick reminder, always have new and different webinars in the Inventive Fireside series coming up. So if you want to check out those that are coming available, just go to my LinkedIn page, click on the events tab, and always excited to share a lot of different perspectives and information. So with that, thank you again to the audience. Thank you again, Jessica, and wish everybody the best of luck on their journeys. And until next time.
Thank you.
Around the flame where the sparks ignite, dreams take flight in the amber light. A circle of minds, a fire of thought, building some from what we've got. Grab along, throw it on. The night is young, the night is young. Welcome to the Inventive Fireside, where wisdom burns and hopes collide. Pull up a chair, let's fan the flame. Together we'll light up the game. The crackling wood, it tells a tale. Lessons learned and ships that sail. Experts speak and the sparks cascade. Fueling dreams that will never fade. Bring your spark, your ember bright. Let's stoke the blaze through the endless night. Inventive Fireside, where wisdom burns and hopes collide. Pull up a chair, let's fan the flame. Together we'll light up the game. Hey, hey. Mike. Around the flame where the sparks ignite, dreams take flight in the amber light. A circle of minds, a fire of thought, building some from what we've got. Grab along, throw it on. The night is young, the night is young. Welcome to the Inventive Fireside, where wisdom burns and hopes collide. Pull up a chair, let's fan the flame. Together we'll light up the game. The crackling wood, it tells a tale. Lessons learned and ships that sail. Experts speak and the sparks cascade. Fueling dreams that will never fade. Bring your spark, your ember bright. Let's stoke the blaze through the endless night. Inventive Fireside, where wisdom burns and hopes collide. Pull up a chair, let's fan